Good morning to each and every one of you on behalf of the City of Elmhurst, the Elmhurst Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and the Community Bank of Elmhurst. As we begin this new decade with a familiar event, the State of our City, it is the 23rd State of our City, starting back in 1998. I'm Ken Bartels, Senior Vice President and Director of the Community Bank of Elmhurst, and we welcome you to the Hammersmith Community Room. And we welcome all of you, of course, and our Elmhurst Arcana Town cable television audience. If you woke up this morning a little sluggish, you have a legitimate excuse. Today, according to the internet calendar, is National Nothing Day. Who knew? National Nothing Day. Now, as we know, however, in Elmhurst, there are 0 nothing days. Our community is on a great run, and that's due almost entirely to the people in this room and the organizations you represent. The City of Elmhurst works. It's worked for a long, long time. It continues to work, and we're going to hear about all sorts of good work in just a few minutes. So let's start our 2020 event, a new decade, with the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I am now pleased to introduce the President and CEO of the Community Bank of Elmhurst, Rich Reichert.
Thank you, and again, just like Ken did, on behalf of Community Bank of Elmhurst, welcome all of you and welcome Mayor Morley this morning. I want to, in particular, thank our employees who set this up. This is not an easy task. It may look like it, but it's not, and they have it down to a science, so thank you to all of our employees. Also want to thank our directors who obviously give us a lot of support. There's quite a few of them here today, and they allow us to run this bank with a unique mission. And our mission statement's on the wall over here, but it says that we value our customers and community first, and we really do that. This is the 21st straight year we've hosted this event here, and that's not by accident. It's because, again, we care about our community, and it's in our name, Community Bank of Elmhurst. You may have noticed that. Our employees and directors are involved as volunteers in more than 30 Elmhurst-based organizations. That's a lot of organizations, and we support countless others in many other ways. This past April, we opened our business zone back in the corner back here where we let our business customers use that space as a co-working zone. And there are all kinds of resources back there. We also have a conference room at our City Center branch that we let them reserve for meetings. And also Ken Bartels, who has hosted a television show here on local cable access for many years, has now started taping a new version of that show, Elmhurst Our Community, in the business zone, and that's available on YouTube at Community Bank of Elmhurst YouTube channel, so I would suggest you check that out. This past year, we also had another exciting new thing here at Community Bank. We brought the historic Elmhurst Hospital Cupola to the Whistler Garden out back, and if you haven't seen that yet, I suggest you see it. When you see a picture of it, which there are probably pictures on the table on the front of your directory, you may notice it. It doesn't look as large in the pictures as it is. It is 19 feet tall with an additional 12 feet of flagpole, so it's over 30 feet at the top of that flagpole. Speaking of folks that are involved in the community, I want to call out one person and ask them to stand up. There's a gentleman with us, Mr. Bill Shanklin. Bill, would you stand, please? Bill is an incredible volunteer on our community. He's chairman of the Elmhurst Economic Development Commission. He sits on the Veterans Commission. He's on the library board. And this gentleman on this past June 5th, at the age of 75, jumped out of a plane over Normandy to commemorate the 75th year of the Normandy invasion. And we were all so proud of them. If you haven't heard that story, I'm going to do a little plug for something else I'm involved with, the E-Town Lowdown, and I do that with my partner Paul Cook, who's over here. We interviewed Bill about his story of jumping over Normandy on our latest episode, so I suggest you check that out. I also, lastly, want to thank all the elected officials that make this town what it is. These folks volunteer a lot of time, and it's not always easy. And I'm especially proud of a recent intergovernmental agreement between the city of Elmhurst and the school district 205. And I know it wasn't easy, but I think it was just great for all of us here in Elmhurst. So thank you, and thank you for being here.
Thank you, Rich. And couple of other things about Bill Shanklin, as long as we had him stand up and embarrass himself. He will be inducted on January 31st into the Civic Hall of Fame as part of the Chamber's gala. You've probably seen some publicity about that already, but you'll see more. And as impressive as that jump over Normandy was, I was a little disappointed, Bill, that you wound up having to use a parachute. I would have thought that you could have found some other way to do that, given your stature. Now, at the State of the City, we also hear about the state of the Chamber. And to do that, we have the President and CEO of the Chamber, John Quigley, and then the Chairman of the Board, Bill Corbell. John?
Thank you. Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us for our annual State of our City mayoral address, along with my annual update of the state of our chamber. Actually, today, one of my peer chambers, represented in the West Suburban Chamber of Commerce Executives Group, is holding their state of their city with their mayor. And I want to note, they charge $75 a ticket to attend that event. And let me tell you, it's not that I don't think Steve Morley isn't worth $75 a ticket. His spot-on impression of four-term Mayor Tom Marcucci alone is worth the price of admission. But we're able to offer this to you at no charge, thanks to a great partnership with Community Bank. Rich Reichert, Bill Gooch before that. Please give Community Bank a great round of applause. And if you want to give us $70, we'll take it. Coming off our historic centennial celebration in 2018, you might expect us to sit back and relax for a year, resting on our laurels, so to speak. But you'd be mistaken. In 2019, we rang in the start of our chamber's second century of promoting an environment that creates success for local businesses and our community. And that's actually a mission that our chamber has fulfilled in various dimensions ever since some 60 prominent businessmen and residents gathered in H.O. Stevens' home to create the Boosters Club way back in 1918. Anybody at that meeting? No? Okay. Officially announced back at the annual awards gala in January of 2017, our once-in-a-lifetime $250,000 Centennial Celebration Capital campaign surpassed goals for both the $150,000 Ralph P. Pachanio Student Internship Endowment Fund over at Elmhurst College. That fund's now at $211,000, and we expect it to reach $250,000 on its own by springtime. And the $50,000 educational portion of our $100,000 Second Century Fund. Second Century Fund fundraising towards our chamber's Civic Hall of Fame public memorial, which will be located in the downtown Elmhurst Metro train station to be rebuilt starting in 2022. We put that on hiatus back in 2019, but we're going to start to rev back up again this year and through the project's expected completion in 2024. Nearly 25% of the goal of $50,000 in gifts and pledges have already been raised, but we're going to be seeking additional assistance over the next 2 years, and I encourage you to jump in on that and help us get that project completed. At your tables, Elmhurst Cupola is available. A unique board game developed as part of our Centennial Celebration activities is now 70% sold out of an edition of 1,000 games. Yes, in December, we sold 60 games alone, thanks in part to a fundraising partnership with United Community Concerns Association and the Elmhurst Walk-In Assistance Network. And to date, Elmhurst Cupola has netted our chamber nearly $20,000 in non-dues income. Give that a nice round of applause. By the way, I note when we were doing the advertising sales for Elmhurst Cupola, I sent out the notice, and in the first minute, the city contacted me and said, we want these 2 corner properties. And then Ken Bartels at Community Bank called me and said they wanted the same 2 properties, but they took the other 2 corner properties. So within 3 minutes of that notice going out, we had already sold the corner properties, and we sold out 72 sponsorship opportunities in 2 weeks. And I had to say no to 40 other businesses that wanted to participate in the game. Yeah, give that a nice round of applause. Our 2020 Elmhurst Community Directory, copies of which are available at your tables, are being every door direct mail delivered to some 19,200 residential, business, and post office box addresses across Elmhurst this very week. I know some have already gotten there. Anybody in the audience already get yours in the mail? Good. They're getting out there on the postal routes. Appreciate that. But new this year, there's a pageable online version of the directory that will be accessible via the homepage of our chamber's website at elmhurstchamber.org. You'll actually be able to page through it just like you would any kind of catalog or magazine. So we're happy to do that. I'd like to thank Shaw Media for their partnership in getting this product out. And you'll hear more from a member of Shaw Media after I'm done. During my 20-year tenure as your chamber's president and CEO, member advocacy at every level of government has become an integral component of our mission. While actively engaged in processes relating to economic development policies and business-relevant legislative issues, we have opposed taxes and regulations that burden businesses and supported fiscally responsible strategies for business investment and job growth. In 2019, we continued to support the City of Elmhurst's participation in public-private partnership projects, say that 3 times in a row, for mixed-use development in downtown Elmhurst and the use of economic development tools such as tax increment financing, retail sales tax abatement, business development grants, and more. We partner with the city on Explore Elmhurst programs to draw visitors and tourists to our community, and we are participating with the city on the Everyone Counts Elmhurst 2020 U.S. Census Initiative. I've got my pin here, and you'll be hearing more about the census coming up. For a community like Elmhurst, every resident will generate approximately $180 in federal money coming back in some form or fashion. So it's important that everyone in Elmhurst get counted. We partnered with the American Chamber of Commerce and the Illinois Chamber of Commerce to keep our members informed about recreational cannabis, expanded gaming, public pension consolidation, and other business-related legislative issues before the Illinois General Assembly. We supported the United States Chamber of Commerce and National Federation of Independent Businesses on a number of legislative business concerns, including the United States-Mexico-Canada Agreement, USMCA, which impacts the state of Illinois more than any other state in the country because our 2 biggest trade partners are Canada and Mexico. We partnered with chambers across Dupage County and Choose Dupage to stage a variety of major multi-chamber networking and educational business events, including last week's State of the County Luncheon and Expo featuring Dupage County Board Chair Dan Cronin. On February 7th, William Strauss, senior economist at the Federal Reserve Bank of Chicago, will deliver the keynote address at our 18th annual Economic Outlook Luncheon and Expo. And as Ken mentioned, come January 31st, we will celebrate our 101st Annual Awards Gala at the Drake Oakbrook, starting with a 5 p.m. pre-awards, complimentary cocktail hour with hors d'oeuvres. Complimentary cocktail. Our 1-hour awards program, like today's event, will be videotaped by Elmhurst Archive of Town for rebroadcast in February. And the post-awards party with a buffet dinner runs from 7 to 9 p.m., in by 5, out by 9. You have a great time. Make sure you get registered. Event information, including our list of honorees, is at each table, but I do want to publicly recognize our award winners, not the least of which has already been recognized, our Civic Hall of Fame inductee, Bill Shanklin of Elmhurst American Legion THB Post 187, our Ambassador of the Year, Kevin Cost of Edward Jones Investments, our Chairman's Award recipient, coming from past Chairman Kevin Cost, is going to Ken Bartels of Community Bank of Elmhurst and Ken Bartels Consulting. And our Business of the Year, AJ Tachi-Taronis Business of the Year, is Elmhurst Auto Group, which is Elmhurst BMW and Elmhurst Toyota. During my 30 years of chamber work, including serving as your president and CEO since 1999, Elmhurst has developed into a thriving community that serves as an example to our neighbors throughout Chicagoland. That didn't happen by accident. So take pride in all we have accomplished in cooperating with one another. And finally, I want to acknowledge all of you here today and the hundreds of other members whose loyal support and steadfast commitment has, like our community, earned our chamber the respect of our constituents and our peers. And I thank you. Now it's my pleasure to introduce the chairman of the board of directors of the Elmhurst Chamber of Commerce and Industry from Elmhurst Suburban Life and Shaw Media. Would you welcome Bill Corbell? Bill?
Thank you, John. John told me I should keep it brief, so I promise no more than an hour and a half, and I'll be done. Anyway, on behalf of the board of directors of the Elmhurst Chamber of Commerce and Industry, I want to welcome you to the 23rd Annual State of Our City. And I also want to thank Community Bank of Elmhurst, Rich Reichert, Ken Bartels, and all their staff for their gracious hospitality in welcoming us. And I want to thank all of you for attending. And I wish for all of you for a healthy, successful, and prosperous 2020. Thank you.
Fastest hour and a half I've ever seen. Thank you both. In the mayor's message in each edition of the Front Porch newsletter, Mayor Steve Morley ends his comments with the sentence, and I quote, "It is my honor and privilege to serve the residents and the city of Elmhurst," unquote. In response, I now get to say it is my honor and privilege to introduce to all of you the respected Mayor of Elmhurst, the Honorable Steve Morley.
As a politician, I'm used to having my words used against me, Ken. Thank you, everybody, and welcome to our annual State of the City. It's certainly my pleasure to be here. I want to thank the Elmhurst Chamber of Commerce, of course, for putting this event on, and the Community Bank of Elmhurst for their generosity in hosting the event. I'm happy to be here to bring you up to speed on everything we did in well, not everything, but as much of our highlights of 2019 and what we're going to be doing and what you will be seeing from the city in 2020. One of the things I love about coming here is that you learn something new every time you come here. So I've been giving speeches as mayor for 6 years, and I just learned today that if you're John Quigley, you can point to the audience and say applaud. So if I run in any rough spots today, I'm just going to point. Well, I think I've gotten all the help I need so far. John, okay, so honestly, when it comes to giving this update, I think it's important to understand it's important to understand the people who are dedicated to making Elmhurst the great town that it is. We have about 300 full-time employees, 200 part-time employees, 18 boards and commissions with over 100 volunteers on those boards and commissions, 17 elected officials, in addition to almost 50 volunteers at the library and the library and the History Museum. It's over 650 people dedicated to making Elmhurst the town that we all love, and I want to thank all of those people today for their hard work. In a state that has its challenges when it comes to finances, Elmhurst is in fantastic shape. We have a general fund, that's our checking account. By policy, is supposed to be between 25 and 33% of our operating budget. That's between $12 and $15 million at any given time we're supposed to have in our checking account. We actually have $16 million in it. I think Tom Trozine's here. If I get any of my numbers wrong, just look at Tom. He is the worst tell ever. You could play poker with this guy. Breaks into a sweat when I quote a number wrong. Our general fund balance is around $16 million. Our working cash fund, or our emergency cash fund, is at $1 million, which by policy it's supposed to, and that's due to hard work of city staff and our elected officials. We recently produced and passed our budget as we're required to do by state law. And we also issued $10 million in GEO bonds. That's for capital projects you'll see around town. This most recent issuance was primarily for stormwater, which, as you all know, has been a big part of our work over the past couple of years. But I'm happy to say that we achieved our AAA bond rating again for the 6th year in a row. And that's not just a number or an accolade that you put on the wall. That's actually impactful to the work that we do here in the city. So when we issued our bonds, we actually got a rate of 2.2%. Ask the folks here at the bank. That's unheard of. We're in the top 10% of municipalities in the state of Illinois, and we get to float our bonds at 2.2%. A simple 25 basis points. Let's say we were single A rated, like even the majority of the towns in Illinois would like to be. That issuance would cost us an additional $250,000. So it means something when we're AAA rated. It means something when we have a management staff. In fact, there's an S&P report about the management of the city of Elmhurst and its finances, and they attribute it directly to our staff and our management of how we handle our money to achieve that, that rating. For the most part, taxes have been flat. City taxes have been flat over the past 6 years, with the exception of pension obligation. Certainly we have police and fire who put their lives on the line when we go to work to protect our families and our homes. And that's something that we want. We made a commitment to them to pay them and pay them a pension, and we made a commitment to fund that pension. We are funded higher than about 80% of the towns in the state of Illinois. Springfield recently passed pension reform, and pension reform can sound very scary. This is something that the folks in Springfield have been talking about for probably the last 20 years. So I want to give you a brief insight of just one small bite of the elephant that is our pension problem in Illinois that the state has done. So in the state of Illinois, between police and fire, there's approximately 650 individual pension funds. And those 650 individual pension funds are managed by hundreds of private pension fund companies. Now, nothing against those private pension fund companies. They do a great job. But 650 individual pension funds being managed individually in Illinois is very inefficient. So the state legislature, and it's been signed by the governor now, have allowed pensions to be consolidated. It can be confusing as well, but it's important to point out it's much like a bank. So my checking account, if I have my checking account in this bank and you have your checking account in this bank, we don't commingle funds as much as I would like to. But what they're doing with the pensions, the police and fire pensions in the state of Illinois, is they are aggregating those funds in an area, and that's going to achieve two things. First of all those hundreds of pension fund managing companies who do hard work get paid. Let's just say overall they get paid about 1% of the funds that they manage. On the flip side, let's just say in downstate Illinois, there's a small fire department that maybe has 4 firefighters. They have $500,000 in their pension fund for those firefighters. Good for them. The fact of the matter is that they can't find investments that are very attractive when they're only walking around with $500,000. But if we aggregate all of the pension funds and put the power together, that's billions of dollars, we can now go out and have access to more investment opportunities, and the estimate is that those pension funds now will receive somewhere between 1% and 2% annually increase of what they do now. So there's a bunch of financial guys in the room, Ask them what the power of compounded interest does. You save 1% on your fees a year, you add 1 to 2% on your return. I can tell you this, if we had 3% compounded interest for the last 20 years, our pension funds would be overfunded. So it's a good thing. I applaud those in Springfield who did that on our behalf. It's one step. It's not perfect, but it's a step. Our home values in town have increased almost 6% last year. That's bringing the number close to 40% increase in the last 5 years. That's a testament to people who want to move into Elmhurst. We continue to review our expenditures in town to try to keep taxes low, including outsourcing, and we're looking at outsourcing of utility bill printing, vehicle sticker processing, online payments, among other things. Our building department continued to stay busy. We had over 82 new homes built this year, and we currently have 14 new homes in for review. Over the last 5 years, we've had about 115 to 120 new homes every year built in our town. That's very important as it comes to our tax burden. So if you think about the city of Elmhurst, if you include our capital budget, we spend about $140 million a year. Depending on inflation, cost of materials, cost of labor, that $140 million can go up, even if it's 1 to 2%. We've got to find $2 to $2.5 million in new revenue every year just for the status quo. That's why it's so important that when houses do become obsolete, and some do become obsolete, that there are builders and people who want to buy and live in Elmhurst. The average EAV of a new home that's replacing an older home is 400% more than the home it replaced. What does that mean? That means that when the city of Elmhurst or the Park District or the school district goes out to tax us on their property taxes, they don't pick how much your home is going to be taxed. They give a lump sum dollar amount to Dupage County. Dupage County then looks at our total value in aggregate and divides up that the tax burden, or shares the tax burden. Well, I can tell you this, if home values are going up and the average home value is 400% more than it was last year, that's a larger pie for taxes to be spread out. So we encourage that kind of growth, and that's the reason why we are able to keep our taxes, for the most part, flat. Our Community Development Department issued over 3,000 permits in 2019 with a total value of construction costs of over $200 million. That is a big number. That is not normal in DuPage County. That puts us at the top, and we're happy that people are willing to invest in our town. We continue to benefit from transit-oriented development, or TOD as we call it. That's some of the high-density housing that you see in our downtown area. Opus broke ground on a $54 million mixed-use development with 165 luxury apartments and 11,000 square feet of retail space. The Lennar Group is putting up a 212 luxury apartment unit right next to Elmhurst Brewery, and that's going to be opening in the fall of 2020. There's currently 2 condominium projects in downtown Elmhurst with 43 condominiums that will be coming online this spring, with a total valuation between the two of well over $20 million. Both are set to be this spring. And a couple things that I think are important to relate as it relates to travel-oriented development or density in our downtown, what it does for us, what it means for us, and why we encourage it. First of all, it increases our market cap. So those are brand new tax-paying properties coming on the tax roll. I just explained expanding our tax pool to share the burden a little more, so that's important. 2, it's an alternative. These multifamily dwellings are alternatives for young people coming into town who can't necessarily afford a house but know they want to, so they get to know the town. But 2, it's also for our seniors. Since I've been an elected official for the past 12 years, there has been a consistent complaint, if you will, from older folks that they don't have a place to move when they don't want to take care of their home and their yard. I can tell you this, at Elmhurst 255, which went up a couple of years ago, kitty corner from City Hall, about 60% of those folks are retirees and about 40% are young married couples. So it's working. It's an alternative place for folks to live. It keeps our vibrant downtown. If you're like my family, you get a significant amount of your retail through Amazon or the internet. Well, we better figure out a way to make our downtown vibrant because it's not just going to be retail anymore. So bringing density to downtown helps keep our boutique shops in business and keeps the downtown that we like. And finally, there's a benefit to the school district. These transit-oriented developments have a very, very low residency rate for people with families. So they're paying regular school taxes. Not only that, they have to pay an impact fee just to come on board of thousands of dollars per unit, and that goes directly to the school district one-time fee. But then in addition, the per square foot price for taxes collected is the same that's collected on our homes. And these people don't have kids in the schools, so the schools get a win-win on that along with the rest of us. We registered more than 60 new businesses in Elmhurst, including a Culver's, which opened up on North York, where the old Burger King was. Throw Nation came in, where the old, I call it Oliver's. It's changed a couple of times. When I was a kid, it was Oliver's. Up on Lake Street, Throw Nation, where you can throw an axe and drink a beer. Who wouldn't want to do that? There's also a half a dozen other games you can do up there. The BMW dealership expanded through a TIF partnership up on Lake Street, and that's very important. We have some of our other car dealers here. Elmhurst has what we call our auto mall between all of our different car dealers. Why is that important to us? Elmhurst collects 1% in tax for every car sold. So when Elmhurst BMW sells a car for $45,000, we get $450. We worked with Elmhurst BMW to expand their market, to expand their business. They are now selling 45% more cars on that location. That's the reason we do it. That's why we partner with them. For what I like to call the heartbeat of Elmhurst is, I saw Willis Johnson here earlier. Willis, where are you? Raise your hand. There he is, right there. How could I miss him? Elmhurst, yes. Well, as John Quigley would say. Willis Johnson and the 10-screen York Classic Cinema underwent a multi-million-dollar renovation in 2020, modernizing the theater, making big giant seats for guys like me. I try not to fall asleep, but I know what you're saying. If you're the heartbeat of Elmhurst, how can you improve? Beer. Willis now serves beer at the Elmhurst Classic Cinema. I encourage you all to go there. Fitness Formula Center, Gail Landers is here. Fitness Formula Center Fitness Formula Club. I still think in this whole exercise thing's a fad. I'm not buying it, but Gail seems to think it's going to pay off. He put up a 50,000 square foot luxury health, what I'll call a health spa. It's unbelievable. Also serves beer, by the way. I don't want to make this a theme, but that is Heartbeat 2.0 in Elmhurst. So Willis brings in hundreds of thousands of people and keeps our downtown vibrant. And when we were trying to redevelop Addison, we didn't know what we wanted, but I knew we wanted Heartbeat 2.0, which is Fitness Formula Club, which brings in almost 1,200 visitors a day. Imagine what that does for all of the shops on Addison. So thank you very much for investing in Elmhurst. Our business parks continue to see a very low vacancy rate of under 2%, and they continue to invest in our town. Christopher Aluminum and Glass not only moved into town last year, but they brought that giant globe. Have you guys been on Industrial Drive? I tell them they don't have to tell anybody what their address is. Just look for the globe. That used to be in front of Willis Tower. They're adding 50,000 square feet after only being here a year. The Wilkins Auto Group opened up a new nameplate, their Genesis car dealership, which is a luxury car dealership. They've added your Hyundai and Mazda. Honda on Grand is undergoing a multi-million-dollar improvement. And McMaster-Carr not only added a multi-million-dollar data center and collaboration space, they're planning on adding 450,000 square feet of new building this year. So that's pretty exciting. Another success story came into town about 3 years ago. There's a company called Greenleaf Foods. They're owned by Maple Leaf Foods out of Canada. Greenleaf Foods makes plant-based product. I guess meat is what you'd call it. But that's not the exciting thing. They started in Elmhurst in 180 with 5 employees 3 years ago. I met with them just a couple of days ago. They're going to have over 50 employees this year, and they've gone from zero to literally hundreds of millions of dollars in sales in just 3 years. So we like to see that kind of success, and certainly we encourage it. Edward Elmhurst Hospital and the Center for Health is adding a new parking deck. You'll see them breaking ground on that this year. Just a stone's throw from here, Aimco Development is investing in our town, 58 new townhomes right next door, well over $20 million in investment. Our Caterpillar dealer, Patton, sold to Altifer, another large Caterpillar dealer. They're going to stay in town for a couple of years, but that property that we're going to be marketing is currently being offered by Multo Properties, 25 prime acres in Elmhurst. I'm very excited to see what goes in there. Our metro station, I mentioned this last year, we haven't revamped or remodeled our metro station in probably 50 years. It went through a minor remodel in the 80s. I like to tell people it's very kind of Russian gulag light. It's very utilitarian. It meets its needs, but it's not very exciting. But the fact of the matter is that we are the #1 line and #1 stop in terms of use on that Chicago Northwestern line. We're #1 and we're #7 overall in all of Metro, 236 stops. So we think that a lot of people get exposed to Elmhurst through that train station. We are doing a complete ground-up remodel of that train station. There's going to be a new pedestrian underpass that's added. It costs about, well, the feds are involved because it's the railroads. It costs about $800 a square foot. If there's any home builders in town, they know that to build a house in Elmhurst between $150 and $200 a square foot tops, $800 a square foot to build a new train station. The good news is, thanks to staff, they went out and they have found over $20 million in grant money that the residents of Elmhurst will not have to pay on an approximately $24 million project. So we're very excited about that. We're entering phase 2, which means part of that is design, and we are going to be holding open houses and have a lot of input from the public about what that's going to look like because it's going to be how people see Elmhurst for the next 50 or so years. Another exciting thing is we have an exit ramp. If you've taken anybody to O'Hare, or you've come back from O'Hare lately, you've noticed when you come back on 294, there's a little bit of construction going off right when you get to County Line Road over there where McMaster Car and the Gun Club is. We have been working with IDOT and federal funds and you name it, and North Lake and counties, and there is going to be an exit ramp before you get to Elmhurst there. It allows you to exit onto County Line Road. The biggest advantage to that is that trucks, semis coming on 294 South, whether it's from Wisconsin or wherever, can exit and they don't have to go through Elmhurst. Anybody who's lived in Elmhurst knows for the last 60, 70 years, semi-trucks do not have the ability to exit and go east on North Avenue. We used to have a jug handle. Think of these poor people. We used to have a block in Elmhurst dedicated for semis to turn around. Thank God we stopped that. This is the next step. It allows people to actually exit when they're coming from 294 South and head into North Lake if they want to. Public Works Division continues to have a busy year. Our Public Works team received several awards from the American Public Works Association, including the Public Works Project of the Year for our 11 stormwater projects that have gone online in the last 5 years. Howard Killing, I don't know if Howard's here, he's the director of our Public Works. Howard actually was awarded Top 10 Public Works Leader of the Year for shepherding those projects along with his staff. We also won an innovation award for an Elmhurst leak detection program. We have this thing called Zone Scan. It's really cool. So we've been delivering water to homes in Elmhurst for 150 years. And as you can imagine, the infrastructure to deliver water to homes is anywhere from 0 to 100 years old. The fact of the matter is sometimes it leaks. So we might buy 1,000 gallons from Dupage County Water Commission, but by the time it gets to the residents, maybe we're billing for 800 gallons or 850 gallons. And it's very difficult without digging up the street to figure out where those leaks are. Well, thanks to new technology, we now have a fixed network on our entire supply system. This thing is so amazing that when a leak happens, it's detected by radio waves, I believe it's radio waves, and it's hooked up to our software program. So when our Public Works people come in the morning, they literally get a report. It's a picture with Google Maps with a red dot on it of the street saying, hey, Public Works guys, within 3 feet of this red dot, we have a leak. That is absolutely amazing. We used to have to wait for that leak to bubble up. We used to pay overtime. We used to have more destruction of property. Now we are not only finding leaks that we didn't know existed underground, but we're able to repair the leaks before they become too big. I'm happy to say within 1 year, we paid for that entire system just on the savings of water. So that's a big deal. How late am I going?
Oh, you've got at least another minute.
Great. As a part of that, not only did that win the Technical Innovation Award, but that combined with WaterSmart won a DMMC award. So we're members of Dupage Mayors and Managers. I'm happy to be a proud member of that. We are members with about 33 other communities, and it's just what it sounds like, Dupage Mayors and Managers. And we get together and we discuss and share best practices. Well, every year they give an innovation award, and we have won it 3 out of the last 6 years. We won it for that zone scan program I just told you about, and WaterSmart. If you don't know about WaterSmart, please go to our website, learn about WaterSmart. The water meter in your house is hooked up to the internet. It monitors water usage, but more importantly, if you're out of town, like I was this year on business, you get an email from the city of Elmhurst that says, hey, your water usage is excessively high, more than normal. And I literally called my neighbor because I know there's one toilet in my house that if you don't jiggle it just right, it runs. It's called WaterSmart. I can tell you right now it's free, and only 27% of Elmhurst residents are using it. Please use it. If you're like me and you get to the end of the billing cycle of 3 months for water and all of a sudden you got a $900 water bill and you don't know why, this avoids that. So it's free. Please sign up, WaterSmart. Our forestry division added 575 new trees. We resurfaced 7.5 miles of roads, and we added an electronic sign over the underpass, if you've seen it. Now, I'm a little iffy on the electronic sign. I'd prefer like the old school, like Vallejo cleaners, where you put the placard up. But I will say this, I fully endorse this electronic sign for the number one reason of safety. If you've ever seen our Public Works guys change the banners up there, it's very scary. They have to not only block off part of the underpass to do that, they're hanging a banner and they're 30 some odd feet over the ground. So that alone, I'm happy that we have this new sign. But not only that, in the past we used to have banners, it's 2 messages that'd be up for a week. Now we do a rotation of 6 messages, 3 times more messages, allowing us to communicate to the residents of Elmhurst, allowing folks to use it, and if we have emergencies, we can communicate that way as well. As many of you know, for the last 6 years or so, we worked very, very hard on stormwater in Elmhurst. When we first started tackling this problem, when we first started tackling this problem, we pulled out documents from the 50s about the same types of flooding that we had. So this isn't a new problem. What we had is from the mid-80s to 2008, we had a 21-year drought for all intents and purposes. So on that 22nd year, when we had these crazy storms, people all pointed the finger at Elmhurst and said, what are you doing wrong? I haven't flooded in 20 years. Well, it hasn't rained in 20 years, I know. But that doesn't mean that we don't have a problem. That doesn't mean that weather isn't changing. We hired a very smart company, Burke Engineering, to tell us that we had a 121 acre-foot problem in Elmhurst when we have a bad storm. An acre-foot is 325,000 gallons. Multiply 325,000 gallons times 121, and that's our problem when we have a rainstorm. And in 2013, we had 0 mitigation for it, okay? Most stormwater infrastructures that are put in towns have what we call a 10-year cushion. They can handle a 10-year storm. So the streets might flood a little bit, but the neighbors don't. Well, I'm happy to say that through the very hard work of staff, our Public Works Department, our Public Works Committee led by Jim Kennedy, we have now 11 projects online. Those 11 projects mitigate for 112 acre feet. They protect over $150 million in property. And that's something that didn't exist 5 short years ago. In our last meeting of 2019, I'm very happy to report, and Rich mentioned it, that we agreed to an intergovernmental agreement with District 205. When I became mayor in 2013, 3 months later, I had my first meeting with the school district in an attempt for us to work together. So that was August 2013. We're in 2020. I'll be honest, there was times I didn't think it was going to happen. I didn't think it was going to happen at all, but almost everybody I talked to, without fail, knew and said that our two groups working together is better for the residents of Elmhurst. So I want to personally thank all of the school board members that supported this effort and supported the IGA. Cara Cafario was here. Is she still here? Raise your hand. President Cafario right there. Everyone take a look at her. Give her a round of applause. This agreement doesn't happen without her. Thank you very much. The agreement allows for us to work together with York High School to put in flood mitigation at York High School, work and put flood mitigation in Jackson Elementary School. That goes in addition to the projects that we completed this year, which is just over here south of Bryan. We call it the Timothy Christian Messiah Lutheran Project. We added 20 acre-feet. Over at Jackson, behind the church next to the school, we added 12 acre-feet. We have 3 projects coming up. I mentioned Jackson School with the school district. We have another 3 acre-feet we're going to be able to put there, and that is the part of town that is most challenged with flooding, so every drop counts. We have York High School, which we're going to put about approximately 9 acre-feet, and then Sailor Swain Villette. We were able to acquire 4 different homes. We were able to put 9 acre-feet in the middle of a residential area and create a green space. So it's really not a burden to those folks. It's a place, a green space that they can use, but it also protects their homes from flooding. All said and done, we're going to be at 134 acre-feet of flood mitigation that didn't exist 5 years ago. And that's a pretty big deal, because I can tell you this, we quickly became known as the town that flooded. And now we're being known as the town that addressed flooding. And that means a lot to everybody whose biggest investment is their home here in our town. Rich mentioned the cupola. I'm very happy that the Elmhurst Cupola, when they took down Elmhurst Memorial Hospital, that cupola was kind of iconic. It was the crown of their letterhead. The developers who bought that land donated it to the city. We in turn worked with Community Bank of Elmhurst, and I can't think of a better place for it than here and honoring Darrell Whistler. So I appreciate the work from Community Bank of Elmhurst. We're working on our bike plan. We had a bike plan added to our comprehensive plan a couple of years ago. We're going to do a deeper dive. Everyone knows traffic's a problem in town. Other forms of transportation do help. State of Illinois recently carved out $50 million to help in this. We want to get as much of that as possible. But if you want to work with the government, you better show up with a plan, so we'll be doing that. Our Elmhurst History Museum, how am I doing on time, John? You're fine. Fine? Great. Elmhurst History Museum hit some major milestones in 2019, staging a record 5 exhibits. Dave Oberg is here. Please talk to him. He is the most excited man ever when it comes to history. He actually is charged with bringing history to life, and he does it. We had 5 exhibits between January and December, including the award-winning Worlds of Wonder exhibit. They're continuing to add or continue new programs, including From Prairie to Tree Town, Time Trekkers, which is a kids' day camp, Museum Maker Monday, Throwback Thursday, the Elmhurst Quarry Tour is making another appearance, Museum Day, Vintage Baseball Day, which I plan to be at if I'm healthy, Ruth Strand Poster Contest, and for the 2nd year in a row, they beat their previous record in attendance. We're looking forward for 3 years in a row, Dave. Our Elmhurst Fire Department has been very busy this year, over 5,400 calls. In November, we actually bought a brand new ladder truck. We retired one. We have still 2 ladder trucks. For the 3rd consecutive year, the fire department was recognized by Edward Elmhurst for their EMS Run of the Year. That's basically, in this case, it was someone who had a heart attack while they were driving and ended up on somebody's front lawn. And due to the efforts of our fire department and our EMS folks, that person is with us today. So thank you very much for that. The fire department also received a grant from the Elks Lodge to purchase service equipment and a $63,000 grant from FEMA for source capturing system to reduce toxic emissions from in the fire station. We also have a fire prevention bureau in town. They instituted a smoke detector program. I won't get into the details except to say for any resident in Elmhurst. If you're concerned about your fire detectors or your smoke detectors, if you want your smoke detectors checked, call us. We'll send somebody out from the fire department. They will check your smoke detectors. They'll make sure they're working. If they're not, they'll help you replace them. And in some instances, it's even free. So please, any concerns about smoke detectors, contact us and let us know. The Metro Paramedics and Elmhurst Fire also received the 2019 Lifeline EMS Gold Recognition Award for their constant vigilance as it relates to heart attacks. The fire department is going to continue to work and keep its ISO Class 1 certification, and they're going through an assessment process through the International Fire Chiefs Association to improve operations. Our police department continued with their neighborhood roll call, our award-winning neighborhood roll call, where during the summer months they actually change shifts and they pick an intersection in town, a neighborhood, and it's a great opportunity for the residents in town to not only meet the police, but also get an idea of what they're doing that day, not only in their neighborhood, but in their town. We've had over 5,000 Elmhurst residents attend since we started that program. We also increased the presence of our geofence, or our license plate reader. So that gives us the ability, if a bad guy comes into town, or gal, equal opportunity, bad guy or gal comes into town, we do record license plates. Now, at first, I was a little hesitant because of this. A little big brother, wasn't crazy about it, but I'll tell you this, in this day and age, and this is a stat that's 5 years old, in this day and age, if you drive around the Chicagoland area for 20 minutes, you and your car are photographed no less than 5 times. The fact of the matter is that technology is out there and that technology is being used. We should use it to our advantage. And I can tell you this, countless crimes are being solved because we have that in place. They continue to collect prescription drugs not needed at our drop box at the police station. We've collected over 1.5 tons of unused prescription drugs since we started that program. That's great. Not only does it keep it out of the hands of kids, keeps it out of our waterway. When I was younger, you used to just flush it down the toilet. Not good for your waterways. Quick story I want to share. I got sworn in as mayor about 3-4 months later. I'm in a meeting with Rich Jorgensen, county coroner. Fun meeting. Introduced myself, and one of the congressmen is there, and he goes, Mayor, what are you a mayor of? And I said, well, Elmhurst. And he goes, oh, are you aware of the opioid crisis? And I kind of, no, I'm not. He looks it up. You have 0 deaths in your town. There's 13 in Dupage County. This was 2013. It's coming, Mayor. Please don't ignore it. Don't let your residents, don't let your fire department, don't let your police department ignore this crisis that's coming. 2013, 13 deaths in all of Dupage County. Because of the hard work of our Elmhurst Police Department, we now carry a drug called Narcan. It's something that can be administered through the nose if there is a heroin overdose happening. Now, heroin, when I was in high school, was very scary. You only saw it in your health book, and it was this giant needle, and I thought, well, who's going to trip on the sidewalk and all of a sudden fall into that? I don't have to worry about that. You can get a hit of heroin for $5. Okay? It's easier to get a hit of heroin and pay for it if you're under 21 than it is to try to go buy beer at a grocery store. $5. 2013, 13 deaths in Dupage County. Last year alone, 17 Narcan saves by our police department in the city of Elmhurst. That's absolutely terrifying to me, but think of those families who have 17 family members who are with them. It really brings a chill. I know I've thrown a lot at you today. I would encourage you to go on our city website, use the resources that we have. It's all online. You want to read all 4,000 lines of our budget? Please, you're welcome to it. Follow us on Facebook. Sign up for our alerts. We have Code Red. It's something where you can sign up and get a text or an email if something bad is happening in town or if there's an emergency that we need to contact folks. Sign up for our news alerts. You can actually pick which kind of news you want to hear from us. Please do. Stay informed. In 2020, we're also going to be adding a Citizens app on our phone. So if you're walking around town, it's going to be a little Elmhurst button, and you see a pothole or a street light's out. You can literally take a button and shoot it to City Hall. I'm not saying don't call your alderman. Call your alderman, please. But it's going to be that much more efficient where you'll be able to do that with just an app. We're developing a residence guide to city services that'll be both printed and electronic. It'll have information about the city of Elmhurst, departments, who to contact, and who to call at City Hall. I would also encourage you to visit our exploreelmhurst.com. That's our marketing website. It's run by Cassandra. I believe she's here. There is something going on in Elmhurst every day, 365 days a year. I was walking downtown Elmhurst this summer with my wife. It was Tuesday, and it was jammed. And my wife turns to me and says, "What's going on?" I said, "It's Tuesday." Go to the exploreelmhurst.com website. There's a calendar, there's a resource list, whether it's restaurants or hotels. Please use the information that's out there. Our trolley program continued to achieve success. Ridership increased every year for the past 6 years, including this year. We have both a summer trolley and our Holly trolley that runs from Thanksgiving to Christmas. We'll also be doing our biennial survey, so our once every other year survey of the residents of Elmhurst of what they like and what they don't like and what they want in our town. It is so important, if you get asked or you get sent that survey, that you respond to us and you let us know what you want, because we're constantly doing strategic planning and we're going to base it off of that survey. So if you get it, please respond. Erin Jason's in the room. She's taken, there she is back there. She is taking the bull by the horns for our census. You see my little pin here. 2020 census starts this year. It starts in March, and it runs through, at the very least, April. And as someone up here already previously mentioned, that is how they allocate federal dollars. It is so important that we get an accurate account. For more information, you go to elmhurst.org/US Census. One last question that I've been getting a whole lot of, just in January of this year. Yes, Elmhurst had voted not to have recreational marijuana in our town. It seems to come up quite a bit. We have some CBD oil folks in town. That is not a regulated product. They can sell that stuff. I'm very proud and happy with our elected officials. Our city council voted 14-0, voted unanimously not to have recreational marijuana in our town. I've raised 3 kids in this town. I got 3 kids in college. I was talking to my kids about it over Christmas break. You know, they're like, "Hey, Dad, it's legal now." I'm like, you know what? It is tough enough raising a kid in this society with smartphones and everything else. We don't need another headache. I'm glad it's not in our town. It's a burden for our police department. They got to figure out how to monitor it because it is legal in our state. First state to do it legislatively without a referendum, for whatever that says. I see Troy Van Aken's here, Elmhurst College, going through some changes. Actual changes in July of this year. They will become Elmhurst University to better reflect all of their offerings. The latest U.S. News & World Report ranks Elmhurst College number 6 in the Midwest in the category of undergraduate teaching, and number 13 for most innovative schools. They also received a National Science Foundation Award for $2.75 million, a grant that supports STEM students. Ellmers District 205, I talked about them. They obviously passed a referendum, but they also are starting Thrive D205. This is a wellness program that's an initiative to start a community conversation and understand and support our students and the stress levels and the problems that they face. The other thing is that they have an ASCD awarded Ellmers District 205 with the Illinois Whole Child Honor. If you want details on that, Kara is right there. She'll tell you after this speech. Elmhurst Park District, Jim Rogers is here, is celebrating their 100th anniversary this year. Congratulations. They're continuing their vision for 2020 this year. The library, for the 5th year in a row, achieved a 5-star national rating, one of only 7 libraries in Illinois to get that. They completed their staff and lobby renovation on time and on budget, and they also added a social service specialist in 2019. In 2020, they also will be working on a strategic plan. I can tell you this, if you see something in the paper or you hear about something that happened in Elmhurst, it wasn't by accident. We do more planning than any municipality that I know. Finally, on a bit of a somber note, I want to take a moment to remember our longtime clerk, City Clerk Patty Spencer. Patty lost her courageous battle with cancer in September of this year. She served her community proudly for many years and will be greatly missed. It was my honor and privilege to work with her for 12 years. Quick story, I'm about 3 months into being mayor, and as a politician, I have an incredibly fragile ego. But everybody wants to tell me how great I'm doing, and I'm working really hard, and I just came off of a council meeting, and I think I maybe only made 3 mistakes versus my usual dozen, and I'm kind of feeling pretty good about myself, and I go sit down with Patty. I'm like, hey, Patty, how's it going? How do you think I'm doing? And she gets this look on her face, takes a deep breath. Well, it's not how I'd be doing things. And I was... I love Patty Spencer. She says what she means what she says, and she was very kind. What she was saying is, it's not how I would do things, but I can see you're working very hard, and I know you'll be successful. But that was Patty. If you knew Patty, she was an Elmhurst treasure. She will be dearly missed. Now, when we have a vacation of an elected official spot in Elmhurst, it's up to the mayor to choose and appoint somebody. Now, it's with advice and consent of council, but they have to approve who I appoint. Now, I do what I call as an open roll call. I made a public announcement. We also did a press release. Anybody who wanted to be city clerk could sign up. We had 7 people sign up. I personally interviewed all 7 folks. I am very happy to announce that I will be forwarding to the City Council for consideration our very own Jackie Tamer. I think she is there. She is. Jackie, raise your hand so everybody can see you. Now, I did interview 7 people. They were all very nice, all brought their own qualities to the table, but I got to tell you, I was so excited when Jackie threw her hat into the ring. She comes from a family of loyal public servants, Emil and Jackie Haddad. Most of you in this room know them. Jackie also has been chairman of our youth commission for the past, I want to say, 7 years. She's brought it from a total membership of 2 to 9, and they're actually doing work. But so happy that Jackie decided to throw her hat into the ring. After her approval, Alderman, if you have any questions about Jackie, let me know or call her. She's a wonderful person. We'll be swearing her in next Monday. That's something that I can't emphasize enough when we talk about how great Elmhurst is. There's a lot of new faces I see in town, and that's great. But I will say this, get involved. I spent a good 40 years in Elmhurst thinking things just happened. Loved the town, everything was great, things just happened. It's not the case. There are so many people who work so hard to make this community the community that we all love. So I urge you to get involved, and I can tell you this, as hard as you work getting involved, the reward's even better. So please, anybody who's listening to this, get involved in your PTA, get involved in the parks, get involved, run for office, get involved with any volunteer organization, apply for one of our 18 boards and commissions. Please, get involved. You'll be happy you did. Another slightly less somber note, but a somber note nonetheless, my friend Valerie Johnson. Is Valerie Johnson here today? She left. Oh, Valerie Johnson has worked for the city of Elmhurst for 34 years. Valerie Johnson is the head of HR, and she is as good as she is an HR director, she's even a better person, if that gives you an idea how well our HR department is treated. I will personally miss Valerie. She makes our jobs easier as staff, so much easier. 34 years, God love her, she's going to retire, and that means we have an opening. So we're going to miss you, Valerie. And finally, I feel like a professor who's given a lecture that's lasted a little too long, but in conclusion, I will say that occasionally when I'm around town, whether it's at Jewel or wherever, or at Rory's Shoe Shop right around the corner, occasionally people will stop me and pay me a compliment. Of course, as an elected official, I love compliments. I don't get many, but I cherish them when I get them. But I'm always I always immediately tell people, well, I appreciate that, but it's a team effort. It's truly a team effort between staff, elected officials, and volunteers. So 650 people I mentioned at the beginning of this speech. They're the people that we need to share those compliments with. I'm the fortunate one. I just get to deliver the good news of all of the hard work. So, again, I want to thank all of the staff, everybody, Jim Grabowski, Mike Kopp, everybody. I want to thank all my fellow elected officials. I want to thank the residents of Elmhurst. As Ken Bartels may have mentioned, it's very humbling to represent my hometown, and it's my honor. And finally, to my wife and family, for the love and support and patience. I could not do this without them. God bless Elmhurst, and God bless the United States of America. Thank you. Now, I figured if I talk long enough, we wouldn't have enough time for Q&A, but we usually do offer Q&A. So any softball questions out there? Anybody who has any questions at all, I'm happy to answer. I know I was quite comprehensive, so maybe there aren't any. Yes, Dick Inskeep.
Is there anything going on with Lizadro Museum?
Lizadro Museum. Yes and no. Well, I do know that when Lizadro Museum vacates the building, that building reverts back to the Park District. So I would encourage you to contact Jim Rogers about what their plans are for that. I will say this, as sad as I am to lose the Lizadro Museum, they did open up just about a month ago in Oak Brook. And I can tell you this, the space that they have in Oak Brook is magnificent. It's breathtaking. It's a treasure. It's a treasure that we had to share from Elmhurst. Let's just call it a treasure for Dupage County. If you get a chance to go to the Lizadro Museum, still one of only 2 freestanding lapidary art museums in the United States, please make your way to Jory Boulevard. It's right around the corner. We miss them, but what they did over there is fantastic, and Joe Lizadro and the entire family just did a wonderful job, and they did a great service for Elmhurst all the years they were here. Thank you very much.
So on National Nothing Day, I want you all to go out and do something, and I know you will. Good morning, thanks for being here.
I count, you count,
everyone counts Elmhurst.
The city of Elmhurst is home to over 45,000 residents.
The U.S. Constitution mandates that everyone in the country be counted every 10 years. The United States counts everyone living in the country on April 1st, regardless of their nationality or living situation.
Completing the census is mandatory. It's a way to participate in our democracy and say, I count. Taking part is your civic duty.
The census is about fair representation at the federal level. Every 10 years, the results of the census are used to determine how many seats each state gets in the House of Representatives.
After each decade's census, congressional, state, and local legislative district boundaries are redrawn to account for population shifts, including Elmhurst ward boundaries.
The census is a snapshot in time. It aims to count the entire population of our country and the location each person usually lives. The census asks questions of people in homes and group living situations, including how many people live or stay in each home, as well as the sex, age, and race of each person. The goal is to count everyone once, only once, and in the right place.
When you respond to the census, you help Elmhurst get its fair share of the more than $675 billion per year in federal funds spent on schools, hospitals, roads, public works, and other vital programs. Federal funds, grants, and support to states, counties, and communities are based on population totals and breakdowns by sex, age, race, and other factors. The community benefits most when the census counts everyone.
The census is a valuable tool for improving communities across the country. Funds distributed from the census equate to approximately $6 million annually for the city of Elmhurst. That allocation provides funding for local projects such as road resurfacing and supports community initiatives from public safety preparedness to quality of life and economic development growth. If members of the community don't respond to the census, Elmhurst may not receive the funding it deserves.
Your census responses are safe and secure. The Census Bureau is required by law to protect any personal information collected and keep it strictly confidential. Your answers may only be used to produce statistics. They cannot be used for law enforcement purposes or to determine your personal eligibility for government benefits. To be clear, there will not be a citizenship question and respondents will not be required to submit their Social Security number.
2020 will introduce the first modern census, the first to be available online. The days of the old-fashioned, long-form census are over. Because getting an accurate count is so important, the process is designed to be fast and easy. On average, it takes no more than 10 minutes to answer the questions on the census.
Beginning in March 2020, when it's time to respond, households will receive an invitation in the mail from the U.S. Census Bureau. Every household will have the option of responding online, by mail, or by phone. Households that don't respond in one of these ways will be visited by a census taker to collect the information in person. In the 2010 census, only 86% of Elmhurst households responded. You can help create a better future for Elmhurst by responding to the 2020 census. Providing an up-to-date and accurate count of our population is critical.
With an accurate snapshot of the Elmhurst community, the Park District is able to plan, budget, and develop new parks and programs that will be beneficial to the Elmhurst community.
An estimated 5% of children under the age of 5 weren't counted in the 2010 census. Census results help us understand how demographics, including income, education levels, and population size, are changing in Elmhurst. Having an accurate picture of all residents, including children 5 and younger, allows District 205 to engage in long-term planning to meet the needs of current and future students.
The Elmhurst Public Library, Elmhurst School District 205, the Elmhurst Park District, and City of Elmhurst are committed partners in making sure all of Elmhurst is counted accurately in the 2020 census.
Each week leading up to the census deadline, you can learn more about your fellow Elmhurst residents who are likewise committed to being counted in 2020. Join us in being counted.
Remember, the census counts all people living or staying at an address, not just the person or family who owns or rents the property. So be sure to include your entire household.
To learn more about the U.S. Census, local programming, and where to find assistance in responding to Census 2020, please visit the city's website, elmhurst.org/census2020.
Welcome to Brew Point Coffee. So let me tell you a little bit about Brew Point's story. Have you ever looked on Craigslist for an espresso machine and ended up finding a coffee shop instead? That's Brew Point's story. So in September 2014, I had quit my corporate job met my boyfriend Angelo, and we found a coffee shop on Craigslist. Ended up buying it with little to no experience, and it was, we had no idea what we were doing, but we worked really hard to get better every single day. Fast forward 5 years later, we're married. We now have 3 cafes in Elmhurst, Illinois. We have a coffee roastery, an event space, and a new book coming out called Starting and Running a Coffee Shop.
Our Founders Cafe is based in the heart of downtown Elmhurst. It's just south of the tracks, so we're right across from the metro station. And that is our very first location. That is where we got our start here in Elmhurst. Our Lexicon location is located in the Elmhurst Public Library. That is a partnership that we feel is really amazing and has been great for us. Elmhurst Public Library gets about 500,000 visitors a year, and so we're really excited to have the opportunity to serve the wider Elmhurst community and other people that are coming in to visit our public library. It's a really cool location that gives us a little bit more exposure. And then we have our workshop and roastery location, which is where we are right now. We converted a 4,000 square foot loading dock into our workshop and roastery location. This is our third location, our latest location. This is our showroom and destination location. We've been roasting for about 2 years now. We bring in coffees from all over the world, including places like Mexico, Brazil, Colombia, Kenya. We work directly with farms in Costa Rica, where we're hoping to continue to have improved impact by paying them better for their coffee so that they can have more impact on their local community. We bring in green coffee, we put it into our roaster, and we get out our beautiful golden brown coffee that we're then able to serve to our clientele here. It's really cool having the opportunity to do this in-house, to control the quality of our product, our recipes, as well as to improve our impact both here on our community in Elmhurst, as well as the global community and the various farms that we're working with all over the world.
I don't know if we were in any other town that we would have grown as quickly as we have, and a lot of it has to do with the amount of support that we've received, not just from the community, but from the city of Elmhurst in general. When I spoke to the economic development coordinator, it was not just about like how can we grow our individual shop, but how can we invest further in the community through our business.
This has truly been something that has gotten to where it is because people believe in it and because people invest in it. And that has been amazing, and Elmhurst has been a really cool community for that.
We want to have a transparent, innovative, creative, engaging company that is making the world a better place through coffee.
Coffee is our platform, not necessarily our purpose. The coffee is the bridge. Everything that comes after it, that's the exciting part.
Learn more about us at brewpointcoffee.com. You can follow us on Facebook and Instagram, and make sure to check out our new books, Starting and Running a Coffee Shop.
Welcome to New Homestar. So New Homestar is a real estate sales and marketing company. We partner with builders and we help them sell more homes more profitably.
We are incredibly humbled to be the nation's largest private seller of homes.
Working with the city of Elmhurst has been pretty incredible. Over the past 10 years, we've moved offices within Elmhurst 4 times.
But one thing is constant, and that we've always stayed in this city because we love it so much.
Throughout that process, we received tons of assistance from the city of Elmhurst through incentives, but more importantly, through the city staff.
What I love working about in Elmhurst is it's a very vibrant town, and it coincides with the entrepreneurial spirit that we have here.
We chose Elmhurst because so many different amenities. I mean, the amenities in terms of local businesses that we use to operate with. We use actually Kilwin's chocolate for all of our birthday gifts, all the way to the local bars and restaurants that we're able to really go out and enjoy as a team after hours and have a little bit of fun.
The future growth plans for New Homestar, it looks bright, both at a national and a local level. Elmhurst has been part of New Homestar since day one, since the inception of the company. Elmhurst is our home.